Hare Nama Hare Nama Eva Kevalam Kalo Nasteva Gatiranyata.
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Gananatamradandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutalem Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bando Chikatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishebhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Karpaturvescha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavim Bevyo Vishna Bevyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavari Paschata Desha Tarine. Hare Krishna. So firstly, I'd like to thank Gopi Manohar Prabhu and the whole Sangha. Do you have a name for your Sangha?
Yeah, Prabhu, we call it Sadhu Sangha online.
Sadhu Sangha Online. Very good. Okay. So basically SSO instead of SOS. So very nice. I'm very happy to be with you all today. I just wanted to also ask you is that this verse that you've given to me to talk about, do you go in sequence of the Srimad Bhagavatam or there's particular verses that you just pick out and then talk about it? How does it work?
No, Prabhu, we are going in a sequence. So today's verse is this given verse.
So basically, you've gone through all the understanding of the third canto and the conversation of Vidur and Maitreya Rishi.
Yeah, correct, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the title of this chapter is the observance of the spiritual world. Let me just see what's the exact title. Description of the kingdom of God. Okay. So, do you read the verse?
Yeah, Prabhu, we can read the verse and translation. And if you want, you can read a couple of lines from the purport and then we can start, Prabhuji.
Okay, so I'll try to read the Sanskrit. I'm not so very good with Sanskrit, but I'll read and then translation. Sri Rupina Kwanayati Charana Vindam Dilambujana Harisadmani Mukta Dosha Samlakshyate Spatika Kudya Upete Hemni Samajati Yanugrahane Nanya Yatnaha. The ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendently beautiful ladies, their hands playing with lotuses and their leg bangles tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders, in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality Godhead. So I believe what I understand from your messages to me that everyone prepares for this class by reading the shloka and the purport. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, correct, Prabhu.
Okay. So again, I'd like to thank the Sadhu Sangha online for allowing me to speak. I'm not really qualified to speak. I'm not that great orator on the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is inconceivable for a person like me who has such bad qualities to be speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the greatest literatures that one can even conceive of. Vyasadeva is the literary incarnation of Godhead. He compiled many different types of knowledges about the absolute truth, the four Vedas, or the Itihasas, the Puranas, etc. And when he was contemplating about all these literary literatures that he compiled, he felt there's something lacking in there. So his spiritual master Narada Muni came to him and he spoke to him. He says the reason why you are feeling empty within your heart is that you really have not described the principle of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the connection between the devotee and the Lord. If you can describe all these essence, then you'll find your literature will be very perfect. Of course, he put his mind and thought into it, and then he composed the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is basically the commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is an incredible literature itself. It's basically the understanding of Vedanta, means the conclusion of all knowledge. And Sutra is basically short snippets or aphorisms, which is basically given for everyone to understand in a very shorthand. But even that Vedanta Sutra is very difficult to comprehend, especially in the age of Kali Yuga. So Vyasadeva really contemplated on all this. And then basically he wrote a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And with that, even the Srimad Bhagavatam, with the commentary that we have of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, is generally very, very difficult to understand also. So we find that we also have to discuss all these topics with the devotees to understand it deeply. So we're on a particular verse today, which I've been asked to speak about, is the descriptions of the spiritual world. Generally, we find in the age of Kali Yuga, people are accustomed to beauty or material assets or material acquisitions, and they find attractions to all these things. And we find that such attractions and all these different types of accustomed to all these material things is very, very the norm for the conditioned souls in the age of Kali Yuga. Everyone after glitter and beauty. And here we find there is a real incredible description of the spiritual world, especially in this verse that we're discussing here, and how the personalities in the spiritual world are so much devoted to the Lord. And ultimately the goal of life is not to go to the spiritual world. That's a byproduct, but is to love Krishna. And in this verse, did I read the translation? I read that. I didn't read the translation, did I? I didn't read the translation, did I? Did I? Sorry, I can't remember. My memory is going. So I'll just read the translation. Okay. The ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as goddess of fortune herself. Such gracious and beautiful lady. I did read it here. Now I remember. Playing with lotuses in their leg bangles tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders, in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality Godhead. So here, in the spiritual world, I just explained is that the goal of life is not that we want to go to the spiritual world. The goal of life is to render pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And here we find that the ladies in Vaikuntha planets are so beautiful, so wonderful. But even with such incredible beauty and so much exquisite ornaments that they have, they still want to do something. And Sherpa in the purport actually explains very nicely that in the spiritual world there's no dirt, there's no contamination. But just for the sake of doing service to the Lord, they're very accustomed to cleaning the place. So here they dust the marble pillars, the floors, etc. They just want to do service. So the idea is that pure devotional service means that we just can't wait to do service to the Supreme Lord. So one would ask a question: why is it such an incredible desire to do such activities for the Lord? What is it that impulses us to do devotional service to the Lord? Why is that? First point is that when we hear about the Supreme Lord's attraction, His beauty, His qualities, His pastimes, all these different aspects of the Lord, generally we find a deep attraction. We can relate this to even in our material world with mundane personalities. If you are attached to some movie stars, movie actresses, etc., you want to hear about their pastimes. What do they do in their private life? So when we start to hear about the Supreme Lord's qualities and pastimes and His activities, naturally, when you start to become very accustomed to hear these things, we also want to hear His different relationships with His devotees. And His devotees are also amazing also. His devotees have incredible amount of attachment to Krishna, detachment to the material world. Everything about them is all related to their love for Krishna. Loving Krishna is the ultimate goal. The four material goals, Artha, Dhamma, Kama, Moksha. But the spiritual goals are even more better, which is basically Prem Pum Artha Mahan, is to love Krishna. That is the ultimate goal. And to love that personality would give you the greatest of all satisfaction. And to experience love in the age of Kali Yuga, Supreme Lord is very, very merciful. He descends to this material world. And where we find the talking points of the Srimad Bhagavatam very difficult to comprehend. But he says that even easier to understand him is through the process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. And this process of chanting the holy names have incredible potency to them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that personality who's not different from Krishna. He's actually Krishna, but he comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani is the highest of all devotees. She has incredible amount of compassion for all the living entities in this world. Not only in this world, everywhere. She has incredible amount of compassion that she just wants everyone to experience this incredible happiness. If you ask yourself, where can we experience love in this world? You can experience it right now with your loved ones or anyone. We have a tendency to be loved, and we have the tendency to want to love. Yes, all of you, for example, you have your children, and sometimes we find that without them, you don't have the tendency to be very attracted to anything in this world. If you have all the wealth in the world, but you don't have it, the wealth has no meaning. But if you have just somebody to just have a relationship with, then you find all the wealth in the world has no substance. So if you're in a stranded island and nobody to talk to, nobody to relate to, and in this, the stranded island is like a paradise. You have the beautiful beach, beautiful waters there, everything, maybe a nice, beautiful home also, but no one to share. You feel empty in your heart. But if you had one little creature, even if you had one pet dog or whatever, or bird or something like that, that companion, you just want to show your affection, and you want to see that affection returned also. That's the nature of the soul. Nature of the soul is to love and to be loved. And when that's dovetailed towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the experience is so great. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani, is explaining to everybody that take this process of chanting the holy names, not just simply mechanically, but basically with incredible absorption, deep absorption of understanding and feelingly that the name of Krishna and the personality Krishna are non-different. If you actually have that faith and absorption in that way, you find that chanting of the holy names, you can experience Krishna. Mahaprabhu also explains in the Shikshashtakam that there is a medicine to be taken when we chanting the holy names, Trinada Pesunichana. That means you should be very humble, and you should be tolerant, and you should be respectful to everybody, but don't expect any respect. In other words, don't have any, don't try to attain any kind of material assets. Yeah, don't try to get any kind of recognition to material things in this world. If you have any desires for material things, you will not be able to taste or feelingly chant the holy names of the Lord. So this is a very important aspect to understanding how to tap into that great mercy that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And if you keep on doing these activities of chanting the holy names, eventually we will get absorbed so much in the Supreme Lord that basically we can experience the spiritual world, not geographically, but in the core of our heart. We automatically want to do service for the Lord. And devotional service is not constrained by any kind of good karma. It does help if you have some abilities, you can do a lot of things. But if you can just have a state of mind absorbed in the Lord, you can offer everything, anything and everything in just your mind. In the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was a particular devotee by the name of Nishingadananda, and he wanted to do service to the Lord, and he wanted to do service in such a way that the Lord would be happy, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to travel from Bengal to Vrindavan. So he wanted to create a road with incredible amounts of nice scenery, nice softness on the road, and etc. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would create, this particular devotee, Nishingadananda, would create on the road nice petals all over the road. He would create nice trees on the sides of the roads. He would create different types of water wells that the Lord can just stop over to drink some water from. Nice fruits from the side, or the trees from the side of the road. And he would create that. And his absorption was so great that the road was constructing, he was constructing step by step actually. It was not like that he was just imagining the road all the way to Vrindavan. He's doing step by step how to construct this road in his mind. And the road, he was going from place to place. And eventually he came to a particular place called Kanai Natashala. And over there, he couldn't go beyond that. He couldn't construct the road in his mind beyond that. So he said to the devotees that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not go beyond this particular point. He will remain at this point and then probably return back. So this is the power of the mind, that you can actually construct and do service to the Lord in such a way that the Lord is very pleased and it becomes a reality. And in fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was doing his travels to Vrindavan, he actually couldn't go further than Kanai Natashala. So that's how powerful the Supreme Lord's devotees are in their service. They don't want anything else. So we have what you call Premananda. Basically, we have satisfaction or bliss or Prem in loving Krishna. But there is also a great satisfaction of Sevananda. Now, Premananda is actually higher because that's basically we lovingly do everything. But the devotees, they don't want that Premananda, because what happens is that due to the ecstasy, they can't perform the seva, that service. So the devotees are given, they desire for seva. They want to avoid the ecstasy. But automatically, what happens is when you serve the Supreme Lord, automatically the prem comes. Prem means love. The ecstatic emotions come. And once you have the ecstatic emotions, you find yourself basically so much attached to the Supreme Lord. Automatically, all the different types of ecstatic bhavs that manifest just start to appear. Your hair stand on end. Tears are just shooting out from your eyes like syringes. Yes. You go into an ecstatic madness of basically rolling on the ground. You're laughing and crying. All these different types of symptoms are there. And these can be done artificially also. So Srila Rupa Goswami has explained that artificial, when an actor or actress does these activities, we have to see, is it genuine? So Rupa Goswami says, if you have attachment to the holy names, you keep on chanting the holy names, you chant the qualities of the Supreme Lord, you chant the glories of the abodes of the Supreme Lord. You have detachment from all these material things in this world. You have all these different types of aspects in relationship to Krishna, the 9 different points that he mentions. And once you come to that level, then these symptoms that you experience are genuine symptoms. So you can have a check on that. So going back to the point about the spiritual world, I'll just discuss this, the Vaikuntha ladies. I'll just discuss about this. There's one particular point that I really liked in the purport. It is also stated here that in the Vaikuntha planets, the goddesses of fortune are faultless. Yeah. Remember, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that 2 types of people, fallible and infallible. And fallible are basically the spiritual entities. Infallible are the spiritual entities, and fallible are the conditioned souls. And so basically everybody in the spiritual world are faultless. So that means the beauty, every aspect of them is faultless. We're not supposed to admire anybody in this world or look at anyone with deep attachments. But if you try to find out any great, for a man, basically a woman is very attractive in this world. But if you find the most beautiful girl or lady in this material world, you find they're not perfect still. There'll be, the nose is not perfect. The eyes are not perfect. The ears are not perfect. The skin is not perfect. The eyebrows are not perfect. The hair is not perfect. Maybe the upper part of the body is too long and the lower part is too short, or the lower part is too long and the upper part is too long or too short. The neck is not perfect, it's too long or too short. The arms are not perfect size, or maybe The nails on their fingers are not perfectly shaped. All these different attributes, you find bits and pieces, they're not perfect. But in the Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world, all the ladies or goddesses of fortune, which are all the ladies or damsels in the spiritual world, they're faultless. Every beauty is exquisite. They remain so much in incredible anima. There's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto. It describes about that when Krishna enters into Dwarka and all his queens are there, and he's explained that he's so not detached in a way that, without any care. He has no care for the beauty of the material world or anything. He's completely Atmaram, that means he's self-satisfied. And he describes about the beauty about the queens of Dwarka. So similarly, Krishna is completely detached from all these things in the Vaikuntha planets. We're talking about Vishnu here. And here it says that Lakshmiji is Chanchala. That means she doesn't remain in one place forever. Now, generally, when we talk about Lakshmiji, or goddess of fortune, we basically talk about money or wealth or something like that. And we find that in the material world, that sometimes wealth is distributed at one particular point and then it leaves that place and goes to somebody else. And that's the case. You can experience that in great dynasties. Like, for example, the Roman Empire, they had incredible amounts of power, opulences, yes. And then eventually, over a period of time, they lost that. Then you have the Greek Empire. They all had so much power, they controlled the whole world. And over a period of time, they lost that. Then we talk about modern day times, the British Empire. They had incredible amounts of power. They controlled a lot of nations all over the world. And you look at Britain now, is basically into ruins. The system is breaking down. So all these things we find, Lakshmiji basically is Chanchala. She comes and goes. Why? Very simple. Because here it says that Lakshmiji cannot leave the Supreme Lord. If you have the Supreme Lord, then she is always steady at his feet. Sripad explains this here. That Ravan wanted Sita and he couldn't keep Sita there. Why? Because he didn't want Ram. As soon as you don't want Ram, Sita will not remain there. If you want Ram, Ravan would have been able to keep Sita and Ram. But you only desire to have Sita, then basically Sita left. And he was ruined, he was killed. That's the nature of this material world. People want the wealth, fortune. And the head of that is basically goddess of fortune, Lakshmiji. But they want that wealth, that opulence, that power, without the Supreme Lord, who's the consort of this goddess of fortune. So the secret of success is to have Lakshmi Narayan. Must have Narayan with Lakshmi. Yeah, Lakshmi will never leave Narayan. And so this is the idea that one should be always fixed with these personalities. Srila Prabhupada, one time, one devotee in the early days, they were painters for the art, for the books. And they painted a picture of Krishna, very beautiful picture actually, very nice depiction of Krishna, very big. But the only problem with that painting was it didn't have any of Krishna's devotees, didn't have Lakshmiji, didn't have any of the personalities that Krishna associates with. So Shobha says, Krishna is never alone, he's always with his devotees. Actually, very nice point is that Krishna doesn't have any names actually. The Supreme Person of Godhead doesn't have any names actually. But at the end of the day, he has millions and trillions and zillions and unlimited names. Why? Because the names are all associated with his different types of qualities, energies, devotees, his pastimes. Yes. So everything is related to Krishna. So basically, he has many names, unlimited names. Like, for example, we have Gopi Manohar Prabhu. Wonderful name. Manohar means basically that who is the control of the mind. He's the, how do you say, the, uh, he takes away your mind. So basically, Krishna takes away the mind of the gopis. So that's another name. Yeah, we find some names that Krishna has are sometimes, in a material sense, they're not very, very pleasing to material senses, like Makanchor. Yeah. Then we have what do you call the name when Krishna leaves war. Forgot that name. Ranchor. So when basically Krishna leaves the battlefield, he's known as Rancho. That means he's like a coward. So these are real names that people don't like to be associated with. But Krishna, he likes to be called a butter thief. He likes to be called a person running away from the battlefield, Rancho. All these different types of aspects Krishna likes. So these are all aspects to relationship to Krishna. And the devotees glorify all these different types of names to the Supreme Lord. The spiritual realm cannot be approached. Another point that we can talk about is that the spiritual world cannot be approached by simply without any practice. If you want to achieve that spiritual realm, you have to be very, very pure in heart. So until you come to that level of pure heartedness, then you can achieve the spiritual world. You can achieve that success with the spiritual realm. And how does that happen? Is that one should be addicted, absorbed fully in the service of the Supreme Lord. We touched upon it earlier about the cleanliness that the Lakshmi Ji has, that they want to clean all these things. As I mentioned, there's no dirt in the spiritual world. The devotees of the Lord are very careful in offering everything to the Lord with incredible, meticulous attitude. So during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, there was a particular devotee by the name Raghava Pandit. Now, Raghava Pandit was an incredible devotee, so devoted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to his deities he had at home. He understood Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is no different from Krishna. So he had a set of deities at home. And he had in his backyard of his house, how do you say, an orchard or a big ground full of coconut trees. And he would like to offer the best coconut to the Supreme Lord, the water from it and so on. And he found that his coconuts were not so great. So he would travel so far to get coconuts from another place which were much better. And so he got those coconuts from a different place very far away. He brought them in. And he asked his servant to bring the coconuts into the altar of his house, and then basically bring it into the altar, and then he would serve it to the Supreme Lord in his altar. But the servant happened to touch the floor, to the ceiling of the altar room. And Raghava Pandit noticed that. And then basically he said, these coconuts cannot now be offered because you have contaminated them. So Srila Prabhupada makes a comment on this. He says people would think that he has a phobia about dirt, or he is so much in anxiety about cleanliness that he becomes addicted to cleanliness. But actually, he's not in that realm. He just wants to make sure that the Supreme Lord is given the best. And we offer everything with our best abilities to the Supreme Lord. If you don't have that attitude, then basically we do our service on a mechanical way. Yeah. And we have to regulate ourselves in the beginning of our devotional practices. to making sure that we do all these activities with proper etiquette, proper cleanliness, proper mantras to be chanted when offering something to the Supreme Lord. Everything has to be done with the meticulous attention. And if you do that, then we can advance in our spiritual life because we are very meticulous in that service. And then eventually that regulation becomes spontaneous. It goes from regulation to devotion, or regulative devotion service to spontaneous devotion service. And when it comes to that, sometimes the regulation of what we thought, the timings and so on, goes out of the window. We're just impulsive in serving Krishna. It's just like we impulsive that I want to serve Krishna right now. It brings a story to my mind. When the bombing was happening during, there was a war between India and Pakistan, and there was a blackout. And Srila Prabhupada was warned that you should have a blackout in your windows, making sure there's no light going out. Otherwise, you'll see light and they'll bomb that place. Srila Prabhupada made a nice comment. He actually started to fry puris. So the devotees asking, why are you frying puris? He goes, Krishna is about to come. So the devotees asking, what do you mean Krishna is about to come? He goes, if the bomb kills me, that means Krishna is going to take me. So I have to make sure I prepare some puris for him. So a devotee takes mercy in any form, in any way. He takes this type of attitude that Krishna can come in the form of a bomb. Yeah, so in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, Krishna says, the devotee sees me in everything and sees me in everything and sees everywhere in me. I'm never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. So such a devotee is always conscious of Krishna in every aspect. Again, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter, Krishna explains, Arjuna was asking, how can I really understand you and see everything in you? So then he explains that, if you see the ocean, think of me. Yeah, out of all the waters, I'm the ocean. Out of all the birds, I'm Garuda. Out of all the big, big mountains, I'm the Himalayas. Yes. Out of all the great sages, I'm Narada, Brihaspati, etc. Out of all generals, I'm Kartikeya. Yeah, he explains all these things. So basically, to see Krishna in everything, meditate on Krishna. You see something in life, okay, related to Krishna. So if you start to absorb yourself in thinking about Krishna, and then basically develop a attachment to Krishna, see the good in everyone, just try to avoid being envious of anyone. Try to be kind to everyone. Even if somebody is basically, not in the right state of mind, just see the illusory energy, how powerful. And because the illusory energy is part of Krishna, you think, oh, look how powerful Krishna is. So we can relate everything and anything to Krishna if one really wants to put their mind to it. Because nothing is outside of Krishna. There is nothing beyond Krishna. Everything is within Krishna. Everything is controlled by the Supreme Lord. He is the supreme controller in every aspect. And one who actually experiences that will find that, he has incredible bliss. The story about this particular chapter, how it comes about, I'll just relate that, then we can end that, is that Diti and Kashyapa, Diti desired to have some kind of lusty desires to be involved with Kashyapa. And it was the wrong time of the day, and etc. and so on. And then the story is related about the four Kumaras going to the spiritual world, and they're stopped at the gate, and there's two personalities, Jay and Vijay, and then basically they've been cursed. So that's how the entrance, or how we understand this particular description of the spiritual world. All the different types of understanding of the spiritual world is described. The spiritual world that we're hearing here is basically in the Vaikuntha planets. But higher than that, there is another realm, which is basically known as the Ayodhya Dham. And that's where Lord Ram resides. And that is even better than all the other Vaikuntha planets. And higher to that is a particular Dham called Dwarka Dham, where Vasudeva Krishna resides with his queens. And then higher to that, there's a particular mandala basically known as the Mathura Dham. And higher within that Mathura Dham is a particular place called Raj Dham. Now, Raj, over there, Krishna has the most incredible relationship with his devotees. Nobody knows that he's Krishna. Nobody cares that he's God. Nobody wants to know Krishna as the Supreme Person Godhead. They simply want to be with Krishna in service. They want to just love Krishna regardless. And the most interesting thing is that Krishna himself doesn't want to be recognized as God. And that's why that realm is known as the Madhurya Dham. That means the highest of all sweetness. The other dhams are basically has a element, especially in the Vaikuntha, known as the Aishwarya Dham, that we can see the opulences and people recognize the opulence and they get attracted to the opulences of the Supreme Lord. They get attracted by the beauty of Lakshmi Ji here when they see that. But in Raj, in Vrindavan, people are so incredibly enamored. They love everything about Supreme Lord Krishna. And his beauty is even more greater. It is described that, in Vrindavan, Krishna has 4 incredible attributes that not the other expansions of his has in the other Vaikuntha planets. He plays his flute, has an incredible relationship with his devotees. He has incredible beauty, and his activities are really, really unfathomable. And these attributes of Krishna are much more greater than any of the other expansions of him. That's why he's the highest, he's the original Supreme Person of Godhead in Vrindavan. And those ladies in Vrindavan, they're regarded as more millions and trillions of times more beautiful than the goddesses of fortune in the Vaikuntha planets. So for us to understand that is very difficult. Yeah, we get simply enamored by beauty of material things. But just imagine the beauty. So let's say the beauty of a girl or a lady in this material world, on this earth planet, it's nowhere comparable to the beauty of the heavenly planets. And the heavenly planets' beauties are nowhere comparable to the beauties of Vaikuntha. And the Vaikuntha ladies are nowhere comparable to the ladies in Ayodhya. And Ayodhya's ladies are nowhere comparable to the ladies of the Dwarka, etc. And it goes all the way to Vrindavan. And this doesn't just go with the ladies, also for the men or the spiritual entities or spiritual bodies of people who have men forms. And so you can imagine how beautiful everyone is. The spiritual world has no birth, death, old age, and disease. In the material world, we have all these different types of inebriaties. That means we're contaminated with all these different things, and we find ourselves over the period of time being contaminated with all this contamination of the material body. Srila Prabhupada was a spiritual entity. Even in his old age, the disciples of him were saying that they had an incredible complexion, so beautiful, shiny like a silk. And he had incredible countenance about his face, such beauty, such calmness, such incredible amounts of. Although he was small in stature, they said that he was very powerful in the way he presented himself. They thought that he looked bigger than what he was. So this is the idea. I think I'll end it there. Any questions, any comments? I do not know how this works. Am I supposed to speak further? Or
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, if you have some more points, you can take another 10-15 minutes, Prabhu, and then we can take question answers as well.
okay.
Or whatever you say.
Okay. Let me try to think of something that is really something nice related to this. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri, he wanted to conduct a particular pastime, which is in relationship to the Lakshmi Ji. And he wanted to create a drama. And he wanted to himself be Lakshmi Ji, dressed up as Lakshmi Ji. And then he would have all these different types of players to play that role. And he says, this drama, I will do this drama. I will do this drama, but I will do it with an audience which has no attachment to anything materially. So there's all these personalities, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, all these personalities, they look down in the face. Oh. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking them, why are you feeling so much down? He says that you said that we cannot enter into this drama. We cannot see this drama because we have to be completely pure in heart. Because Lakshmi Ji is very, very beautiful and so on. He says, don't worry, you can attend this drama, you can see this performance, because I will take away all your desires for material enjoyment. So everyone was very joyous, and they performed these incredible pastimes of Lakshmi Ji. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu played the part of Lakshmi Ji. And he acted like a mother for everyone. And just like a mother feeds her children with milk, she fed all the devotees, all the close associates. That's an incredible sight, one can imagine. It must be just an amazing sight. So this is one of the pastimes that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained. There was another pastime in Jagannath Puri, which is called the Hera Panchami. In the Hera Panchami, this is just after the Jagannath Ratha Yatra. And the devotees, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associate would basically see this festival, Hera Panchami. And it is a very simple story. It is about Lakshmi Ji very, very disturbed because Jagannath has left the palace. The Jagannath Puri temple is known as the Vaikuntha, and the Gundisha temple is known as Vrindavan. So everybody knows the story of the Kurukshetra meeting place, where the gopis come there. The Vrajvasis come there. Krishna comes there from Dwarka with his queens, and Pandavas also come from Hastinapur. So they get together at the place called Kurukshetra. This is, of course, before the war. And so everyone wants to take Krishna. The gopis want to take Krishna to Vrindavan. And then when they go to Vrindavan, when they're trying to take Krishna away, there's all the residents of Dwarka are very upset. So this is like the pulling of the chariot of Krishna. So Lakshmi Ji was very, very unhappy when Krishna left the Jagannath temple. And so basically there's all her servants who are basically like big soldiers, big opulent soldiers, big powerful personalities. And they're beating up all these servants of Krishna. And so there's a drama going on like this in Jagannath Puri, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Swara Damodar Pandit is there. And then there's Narada Muni, Srivas Thakur is there, Haridas Thakur, all these great personalities. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prompted a particular discussion between Swara Damodar Pandit and Srivas Thakur. And he basically instigated that, look at this, how powerful this Lakshmi Ji is. And he's prompting Swara Damodar to say, look, she is so incredible, she's so powerful. Is anything more powerful than this? So then Swara Damodar Pandit then basically starts to talk about, Goswami starts to talk about that the general description about this, the Lakshmijis in this Vrindavan are much more greater. That's why when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to Gundicha, he is much more happier. Gundicha, as I said, represents Vrindavan. And then he finds himself so much in bliss hearing this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was feeling such bliss in hearing about the greatness of the ladies or the gopis of Vrindavan. And everyone's also, Shiva Thakur is of course happy because now he's hearing the glories about Vrindavan, and especially the residents of Vrindavan, how great they are. And just like, for example, the devotees in Vrindavan, they have such incredible rasa with Krishna, that Krishna enjoys those exchanges of rasa, especially those rasa, especially in the realm of Madhurya Ras, the intimate, loving conjugal pastimes with the gopis. That means those gopis are in the caliber of his age group, or just slightly younger than him, basically in that boyfriend-girlfriend type of relationship. And so when he has that type of exchanges with them, he finds that incredible beauty in them. And Krishna can't leave such personalities behind. So when he descends to this material world as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all those great eternal associates also descend to this material world just for our deliverance. So we find all these different types of Goswamis that we discuss. They're also either gopis or the manjuris. Manjuris are the servants of the gopis. They descend. And they describe that these gopis and these manjuris are so amazingly exquisite in their beauty, but in the incredible exquisite natures that they have, that Krishna is so pleased with them. In the Vaikuntha, the Lakshmijis are always having one particular mood, or just being a servant to Krishna, and they basically, or to Narayan, and they find it difficult to basically go beyond that point. Yeah, but these gopis, they can have a rasa with Krishna in anger as well, and Krishna is very happy to be chastised by these gopis. There are many different pastimes that Krishna accuses them of stealing his flute. Sometimes there was a particular pastime of the pearls Krishna wanted, and they denied Krishna the pearls, and then Krishna grew the pearls himself. And then they realized that they needed to go back to Krishna to get those pearls. He goes, no, why should I give it to you? You denied me first time. And if you hear this particular pastime, it is written by Raghunath Das Goswami. And that exchange between the gopis and Krishna is so sweet, and so very, very sweet, and very, very funny as well. So we find those pastimes really, really attractive. The spiritual, we can talk about spiritual world in this aspect, that you can create your home into a spiritual realm. Remind yourself of Krishna whenever somebody comes into your home. If they see Krishna, they see the associates of the Supreme Lord in your home, in the sense of the temple altar. They see different types of sound vibrations always being chanted in the home. That place becomes Vaikuntha also. So you can create a Vaikuntha atmosphere at home. More importantly than creating a Vaikuntha atmosphere at home is to make sure that you create a Vaikuntha atmosphere in the core of your heart. We can have a superficial experience of something, but more deeply, if you can create a Vaikuntha experience in the core of your heart, then people can see Krishna within you. Yeah, and that is more important. That you're walking Tirtha, you're walking experience of Krishna walking around. So there is the book Bhagavata and the person Bhagavata. So basically, when you find that the person Bhagavata is more powerful because he gives Krishna to everyone, because they can see Krishna. It's like a mobile temple going around to give opportunity to darshan of the Supreme. Why? Because they have Krishna in the core of their heart. I'm not too sure what else you want me to say. I can keep on speaking, but I'm probably rambling on.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for this wonderful session. And there's so many of pastimes covered in such a deep thoughts on this thing. So thank you once again, Prabhu. Quickly, we'll take some question and answers. If somebody has or any comments or any realizations, you can take that. I request devotees to please start raising your hands and start speaking. Hemangini Mataji, Hare Krishna.